the 1960s came the British invasion, which brought two popular rock bands over to the United States, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. They both changed music and revolutionized it around the world.
My name is George Harrison, and my guitar gently weeps.
My name is Ringo Starr, and I sometimes sail in a yellow submarine.
I'm Paul McCartney, and I like it when you all come together, right now, over me.
I'm John Lennon, and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was about LSD.
And we are
The Beatles.
Also in the 1960s was Elvis. Elvis was a rock star that brought flashy moves and a new kind of rock to everyone around the world as well.
I'm Elvis Presley, I'm the king of rock and roll,
Also in the 1960s were the Beach Boys. Their kind of fun rock and roll brought fun to the beach and to everywhere else.
I'm Brian Wilson.
And I'm Mike Love. And we're the Beach Boys!
Also for country music was Johnny Cash. He had some good hits like Walk the Line.
I'm Johnny Cash, and I'll walk the line, baby.
And psychedelic rock,
Psychedelic Man.
Jimi Hendrix, who did a lot of drugs but also made a lot of good hits. Those are the music in the 1960s.
Back then, there were separations in the dressings of men and women in their styles and a distinction between the casual and formal. But in the 1960s, these youth eradicated the divisions and changed the whole perspective of fashion. The concept of unisex clothing emerged for the first time, clothes which could be worn by both men and women. Denims and shirts. In the following paragraphs, the clothes in this era for both men and women are described. With this revolution, there were serious transformations in the designs and patterns of men's clothing. One such pattern in shirts was the buffalo plaids, which were very casual, but looked great when worn like formals. The buffalo plaid shirt was popular with hippies as well as regulars, along with the lumberjacks. Another form of shirts in this time was the tight-fitted shirts as well as jackets. The fashion in this era underwent many changes in clothes for women, along with color changes to styles, to hairdos, to footwear. Everything was different. The gowns made way for miniskirts and close-fitting waist dresses in the closets.
Oh, you scared me. Did my butler let you in? Reginald. That's a guy. Well, since you're here, come sit down. I'll tell you about some crazy events that happened in the 60s. 60s was a crazy time. The Summer of Love was a summer in 1967 where over 100,000 people came to San Francisco to party, basically. It started, there's a lot of equal rights came from there, communal living, free love. It was basically just the hippies. Woodstock was also another big event in the 60s. It was held in Bethel, New York. It was estimated over 450,000 people came. There was a lot of famous bands that were there. It was a very big concert. Another thing, the moon landing. The moon landing was very big. There was a lot of new forms of entertainment in the 60s that came about, like new forms of rock music, such as psychedelic rock.
Psychedelic Man.
And acid rock. The electric guitar became popular, and that was used a lot in new music. There's a lot of different entertainment, such as drugs becoming more popular, such as LSD and mushrooms and marijuana. And then TV shows became more, there was more family TV out there, and there was more cartoons for kids.
Come together right now.
Anyone got any weed?
Yeah, I'm looking to get high on some cannabis, dude.
Where's that reefer, man?
I got something better.
What's that?
It's acid, bro.
What's acid, man?
It's a good time.
Let's do some acid.
And one pill makes you small, and the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet
What's up? In the 1960s, there was a lot of important people. I'm going to give you some of those important people's names right now. One of the most important people was your boy JFK, our president from 1960 to 1963, who handled a lot of issues, fixed the Cuban Missile Crisis, and did a lot of good things until he was assassinated in a motor parade.
Oh my God, it's JFK and his wife. Hey, hey.
Hey!
No. Oh my God.
Oh God!
In the arms of the angel, fly away.
Another important person was Fidel Castro, not only for the U.S., but because he was a dictator of Cuba. And he was like, we don't like dictators, democracy, hello. And he was working with the Russians closely, so at that time that was very hostile for them to be so close to the U.S. And another person would be Marilyn Monroe, because she really affected pop culture, affected the way girls look at themselves, helped Playboy magazine being the first Playboy, and just was like just the kind of person that adults did not like want to see, kind of like today's just inappropriate wearing, just not the kind of person your daughter wants to be back then. Another important person is Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King obviously was the leader, first person, like leader of the civil rights movement. He was the more non-violent one, opposed to another person, Malcolm X, who led an also civil rights movement, who was more violent, but the two had very different views, but still wanted like the same equal rights for African Americans. Lyndon B. Johnson was the vice president at the time for JFK, who took over. He was a hated president. He did nothing good. He put a lot of troops into Vietnam, which made a lot of people mad. Probably went out as one of the most hated presidents ever, and was not a very that guy. An athlete who we all know, maybe one of the greatest athletes of all time, Muhammad Ali, heavyweight champion of the world, and he's just a very, very important person. You know, he disputed the draft, like he would not allow himself to be drafted into the Vietnam War because of his religious beliefs, because he was a Muslim, and through that just sparked a lot of just like anti-war against Vietnam, because he was standing up and he was such an iconic person at the time and for a sport of boxing, and just as an African American too.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
It's a hard ride, trying hard now.
Another important person, obviously Neil Armstrong, first man to walk on the moon along with Buzz Aldrin, which was the craziest thing at the time. No one's ever imagined they would ever walk on the
Houston,
moon.
we are now orbiting the moon. We are about to land.
Oh my God, the moon! Houston, this is Neil Armstrong.
We're on the moon.
And there's also many other important people. Those are the main. Forrest Gump. He was very important. But important people.
What's up? It's your boy Colin again here. Talking about what else than TV shows and movies. At the time of the 1960s, TV shows were actually getting really bigger, with a lot of new shows, new actors rising. Some big shows, one that's very significant back then was I Love Lucy, which was about a man and his wife like live together. And it was significant because it was the first like interracial marriage on TV. And also just portrayed them like the man working and Lucy doing dumb stuff. Just kind of like being kind of stereotypical back then. Some other shows, the Andy Griffith Show. Batman was the first show ran with Adam West starring as Batman back then. And the Brady Bunch, which was like first show to really like show like Modern Family. Just a big happy family living all in one house. Other shows like Gilligan's Island, Hawaii Five-0, The Honeymooners. Leave It to Beaver, which was a really funny comedy back then, one of the biggest comedies. Just like kids getting in trouble and stuff. Star Trek was invented in 1960. You know, Spocking it up. The Twilight Zone. Then also there's a lot of big movies back then. Good year for movies. To Kill a Mockingbird, about the novel. Won Academy Awards for that. Really good picture. Psycho, one of the first horror films, which is like iconic for horror films. And Planet of the Apes, which is like different movie genres like sci-fi and horror and comedy. Just really getting entertaining for like movies and TV shows. Really just booming technology up along with entertainment for people in their homes.
Psychedelic Man.
Invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, and ease my mind. Imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together.